Hey fellow composers, and welcome back to another episode of my Komplete Composer Series, where I take a look at the plugins from Native Instruments Komplete Ultimate Collection. Today we are going to check out Session Horns Pro and see if it's any good for writing orchestral or cinematic music. For that, I've written a short sketch where I've taken a melody and orchestrated it 4 times, each time slightly differently, which I'm going to walk you through. Now, without any further ado, let's head into Cubase and see what we've got. Okay, so here we are in the Cubase session for the short sketch that I've written. As I said, this is basically just one melody, one theme, put into 4 different styles if you want. These all have slightly different instrumentation and different feel. I've used different patches just to see what kind of sounds we can get out of this and what it's actually useful for. So as always, first of all, let's just listen to what I've written. Yeah, that's it already. But I think we'll just go through each part one by one and see what I did. So starting with the first part, which is basically just the session horns on their own with this ensemble patch playing a 3-part harmony and a solo trumpet on top of it. Let's just listen to the harmony first and I'll show you what I did in the plugin. So really basic. I think this is really where brass shines in these harmonic sections, in these chord sections. I think it's really strong, and I think they sound well with this plugin as well. So what you can do in session horns is either choose one of the section presets that are in here, or go ahead and choose your own instruments, which is what I did. I went for 2 trombones and 1 trumpet because I had a 3-part harmony, so I needed 3 instruments. And what I did is I chose for the voicing assistance here, I chose the smart voice split. And what that does is it basically assigns every voice that you have in your harmony to one of the instruments of your sections. So if you have a 3-part harmony and you have 3 instruments, you're basically only hearing 3 instruments. And that makes a huge difference because if you listen, you can hear the individual instruments changing. And if I put this to polyphonic, you will immediately hear the difference. It's just a bunch of instruments blasting and not very indistinguishable. So also has its uses, as you will see later, but for this more intimate solo brass ensemble type of part, I wanted it to have a very realistic feel, which is why I choose the smart voice split. Basically the same as if you would have chosen 3 solo instruments and then assigned each of these lines to one of those. I think would sound pretty much the same eventually. Now for the solo trumpet, I basically just chose one of the solo instruments from the library and assigned the key switches I needed and played it. So I think I'm not getting fancy with any of the articulations anyway, so it's pretty basic stuff here. Nothing fancy. So one thing that I think is really important is the dynamic control in this library. To me seems a bit weird because you have these 2 options to control the dynamic layers, either through velocity or CC11, which I think is expression. So there is no modulation, mod wheel control. And also for me at least, when I changed it to CC11 to be able to control it dynamically and have it basically behave like a mod wheel function, it kind of only changed the volume and didn't really adjust the timbre of the instrument. And it was kind of broken. So I stuck to velocity, which is unfortunate because I can only always change the dynamic whenever I hit a note and not dynamically over time, which I think is a bit sad, but it's just what I had to work with here. I don't know if there might be a workaround or something, but I didn't figure it out in the time. This is basically what you get out of the box. That's already basically it for the first part, I think. Nothing really to it. I just wanted to see what it sounds like if I use just the instruments on their own without any additional layering. So for part 2, I wanted to try out one of the other functions that is in here, and that is the smart chord function. So if you go in here, you can choose the key that your song is in, and then on the white keys of your keyboard, you get basically all the chords from that key. So with one button press, it will play these chords. And that is basically what I did here. So I just had the chords played with this smart chord function. As you can hear, if you stay within 1 octave, it also automatically does the voice leading for you. So the voicing should be fine if you just use these. Just a very easy way to get a chord part in to use as a background layer, and that is exactly what I wanted to try out in this second part. I have all these additional instruments and some strings, a soft choir, and then I wanted to see if the session horns are able to blend into that and work as an orchestral brass section basically. So I had tuba and this ensemble here, which is 2 trombones and 2 trumpets. And then together with the other instruments, to see if it blends in well. Also, because this is obviously only 4 instruments, but as I said before, if you choose polyphonic here, because it stacks the notes on each other, it stacks the instruments, it does sound a little bit larger than it actually is, so it sounds bigger than 4 instruments. Which for this kind of application I think is a sound that you would want. Yeah, so that is it for part 2. Part 3 is something a little bit different because this is really made for smaller ensembles, not a big brass section with a lot of room. And so I wanted to see if I could make something that is not epic orchestral big music, but something that is maybe a little bit quirky, small ensemble, video game style music, using session horns. And for that I used a couple of solo instruments to create my own ensemble here. I have a tuba, a bass trombone, tenor trombone, trumpets, and a flugelhorn, which is playing the melody line. So as you can hear, I tried out some of the articulations that are in here, namely the, I think that's called, well, the fortepiano crescendo and the brass shake, it's called, which is this one, which I think is a really nice sound. So you get a couple of interesting sounds in here that you can use to spice up these parts a little bit. And then the tuba is basically playing marcato notes. And then I layered this with some orchestral percussion and a xylophone. This is really one of the musical styles which this library works best in, because these instruments, especially the solo instruments, they all sound really nice, they're sampled well, and especially the shorter notes. So if you have music like this with a smaller ensemble, this is something where this library is really coming to life, I think. Apart from obviously band music, pop music. And the last part would be the epic orchestral stuff, because I just wanted to know if this works. There's a lot of dynamic range that you get, so the highest dynamic really has a brassy sound, and as you could hear before already, it kind of works. Also here different articulations to create a little bit more realism. And if you solo it, I think it still sounds a little bit too small and pop brassy, but together with the other instruments, it works quite well, I think. However, if I had to choose between this and maybe another brass library that is catered towards orchestral epic music, then I would probably go with the other one. But if this is the only thing you have to work with, then it definitely can work in these kind of situations as well. Yeah, that's basically already everything I did with this little experiment here. You always have to have in mind that this was basically released to work for pop music, jazz, Latin, reggae stuff. So if you get creative with your layering and your orchestration, then you can definitely get some really nice sounds out of this library, even for orchestral cinematic music. So I hope you liked this little walkthrough of Session Brass Pro. I had fun writing with this instrument. If you liked the video, then please give it a thumbs up and maybe also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes. Till then, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Have a good day, a good life, and all the love. Thanks.